Now, I would love to see this lovely inclusive skate park because it does not exist. It does not exist in the UK, it does not exist in America, it does not exist in Australia or New Zealand or Canada. Skateboarding spaces remain dominated by white, middle-class male participants with a historic prevalence of hypermasculine and homophobic culture. Others in the space can actively harass and intimidate those participants who are seen as less entitled to use it. And that's women and girls. And a skate park is not the place for them to go. You're bringing more dodgy young men that they don't know.
All right, what's up, my friends? Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to have to cover something a little bit more important than what we usually go over, and that is the fact that there is a council lady at the moment running a bit of a muck in the meetings on a bit of a smear campaign, it seems, for skate parks and skate park users, specifically males around my age. She seems to think that we are a big problem and we are specifically not being inclusive to other ages, genders, demographics, etc. She goes on to say that she's an expert in the field of making spaces inclusive, like skate parks and parks, and then makes an absolute fool of herself in front of the whole meeting and whoever else was there in the crowd. This is one of the most gobsmacking videos I've seen in a while, especially from an English council person, and we really do need to go over what has been said. So let's get this thing started. All right, so over on my friend Skate Till You Puke's channel, he's a good old boy, Geordie, shout him out first. Let's go full screen and we'll tackle the bits of the meeting that we need to, because this needs to be spoken about. So let's go.
For example, it says in the briefing document that the skate park, quote, helps increase a sense of belonging for all teenagers, regardless of gender or protected characteristics. The Equality Impact Assessment says that the likely outcome of the skate park on the protected characteristic of sex is to create spaces that are safe for all, regardless of their biological or physiological characteristics. And under gender reassignment, it gets even better, to create a space that defies socially constructed characteristics of women and men. Now, I would love to see this lovely inclusive skate park because it does not exist. It does not exist in the UK, it does not exist in America, it does not exist in Australia or New Zealand or Canada.
Okay, so this is something that I, again, cannot disagree more with. She's saying there is no such thing as an inclusive skate park across America, England, New Zealand, Australia. She's blanketing every skate park under one umbrella, which is absolutely tragic. The fact that you can even think that what you're saying is valid when you come out with absolute just bullshit like this. Like, she's just spewing nonsense. She has no idea what she's talking about when it comes to skate parks in America, Australia, New Zealand. Yes, she might have looked at some research papers that some people that have never been to a skate park might have written or co-authored or whatever it may be, but she clearly knows nothing about what she's talking about. Like, and for example, she also said at the start, she also said that skate parks do not create a sense of belonging for the community. When we had our skate park redone, our old skate park, for example, was a little bit worn, weathered, and it did cause a lot of like antisocial behavior, people drinking up there and whatnot. But as soon as we got the community involved, we got everybody to donate where they could to get the new park or the old park redone, resurfaced, add some extensions on there. And as soon as we did that, all the antisocial behavior pretty much, like, obviously you can never get rid of it 100%, but I'd say it's dropped by at least 90%. Now there's families up there all the time, there's kids, parents, there's people having like picnics on the park next to it, and it just makes the whole place way more vibrant, way more inclusive, and people are coming to watch the skateboarders, to watch the scooters, to watch the BMXers. It honestly is such an amazing place that we have in our local town, and it's definitely not its only one. Like, it's not the only one. There are so many skate parks like this. Whenever I go to cool places, like for example, I went to Bournemouth and Duck Lane recently, who I spent the day with Geordie, who is the person that uploaded this video we're watching, and he just, when he's going from park to park, he's talking to everybody. He's going up to mothers, he's going up to children, he's getting them involved, he's getting parents on skateboards. He's like the glue that's putting people's feet onto skateboards, getting them to stick with it, and making this kind of thing inclusive and making it happen. So the fact that this woman goes on to imply that this just doesn't happen, mind-blowing. Anyway, but we'll continue.
So let's look at some research data. This is a published academic research co-authored by a professor writing about Nottingham, which is purportedly the most skate-friendly city in the UK, and supported by Skateboard GB. The conclusion is, quote, skateboarding spaces remain dominated by white, middle-class male participants with a historic prevalence of hypermasculine and homophobic culture. Now, I could quote you another 10, 15 documents that say this. I cannot quote you a single document that supports what is in the Frome Town Council documents. It's basically vibes. Wouldn't this be lovely if this happened? At best, I would say it's misleading, but also, crucially, interventions are not working. I've worked for 2.5 years with one of the skate park manufacturers to try and create more inclusive skate parks. I spoke to their designer about 8 months ago. He said, we're starting to build them. It's not changing the demographic. They're still massively dominated by boys and young men. And there's also...
Okay, so she goes on to say that the skate parks have a bit of a problem because they're massively dominated by boys and young men. So are many sports facilities. Most tennis players are men. Most footballers are men. Most of these sports and like these more high risk, more likely, more prone to injury sports, you're definitely more likely going to see men because men are more likely to put themselves in danger. Call it stupidity, call it bravery, whatever you want to call it. This is just a fact. Men are more drawn to things that are more dangerous. Simple as that. Men are drawn to that, and women are drawn to things that, obviously not in every case, but are a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more slower paced. Now, I'm not putting every woman or every man under the same umbrella, but there's a reason why most nurses are women, because they love helping people, and there's a reason why most people that work on like underwater rigs, like doing welding and stuff, most of them are men. Most underwater welders are men, most nurses are women. It's just because we prefer certain things. Skate parks are obviously going to be dominated by men, while men are the dominating force in skateboarding. Women are definitely coming up. The percentage is definitely rising, and we're seeing some fantastic levels up in the women's skateboarding realm right now. Especially with people like Sky Brown and Lola Tambling. Like, these guys are killing it in the UK right now. It goes without saying, but... yeah, these guys, oh God, this woman's pissing me off.
Evidence that programming, again from the same Nottingham Research Project, programming doesn't work. It gets the girls on the skate park while there is somebody there to organise the programming, same with indoor skate parks, but as soon as that programming is gone, it does not have any effect on uptake of skateboarding. So let's go to some more missing statistics. 85% of skateboarders are male. 2% of teenage girls skateboard. I make that 21 girls in Frome. In surveys, 90% of girls... Yeah.
Hold on, can we just let Susanna speak, then we'll go to questions afterwards.
I'll be clear, I'm talking very specifically about the needs of teenage girls, because as you will see in a minute, at the moment, Frome has spent a lot of money on the needs of teenage boys. Play for younger people is a different subject, but they have spent nothing on the needs of teenage girls. And the research again says others in the space can actively harass and intimidate those participants who are seen as less entitled to use it. And that's women and girls. So
yeah, but this is going to happen anywhere. Like, if you go to a football pitch and there's a group of guys there that are playing football, and if they're assholes or if they're not raised right, that's how they're going to act. It's not the fact that they're at the skate park that makes them want to be more dominant, more territorial and kick people out. It's not the fact that they're at the skate park that's making them like that. It's the fact that who they are, how their parents raised them, that's making them like that. Like, this woman, she seems to have no common sense, but yet has so much research and data to back everything up. Yeah, she's literally being laughed at by people in the audience right now, and I can see why.
this is the kind of data that if councillors are going to make a really informed decision that you need. And Frome is not an exception. To give you just two examples, I gathered data a couple of years ago for Make Space for Girls. We gathered data across the country on the usage of skate parks and moogers. Frome was worse than average. And interestingly, nobody at all was using the Midsummer Norton skate park. And I will note that the Frome Skate Park project has no girls anywhere on its website. And just to deal with Sky Brown, she lives in Japan and California. She has a skate park in her back garden. And there is research that suggests that while role models work for teenage boys, they actually make teenage girls more depressed and less likely to try things. So
okay, so she's saying right here that because Sky Brown is so good and has built herself up to the point where she can move from country to country and have a skate park of her own and a private place to train. She says that because of this is going to demotivate girls and make them more depressed. depressed because someone who looks like them, who's in their field, doing what they love, is achieving something massive and amazing, and that for some reason makes them feel depressed. If a girl wants to be an actress and she looks up to one of her favorite stars, is she then going to be depressed because that star is too famous, or she's got too high level of acting classes because she worked hard to get there? Yes, some people are handed what they're given, but in the case of a lot of these skateboarders, Sky Brown had to work extremely hard. No one can buy their way into skateboarding and fool everyone. You can't fool people with your skateboarding skill. It's one of the most hard to learn things there is. And the fact that she's dissing Sky Brown for having worked to the point where she can afford and do these things and compete on this international level, and saying that because she's doing that, that's making these girls feel more depressed and less likely to get into skateboarding, is absolutely baffling. She's saying that, yeah, these positive role models, they work for men, but not for women. Girls, the 15 to 20% of my audience that are females, if you're watching this video, please, I'm going to leave the contact info for this lady at the end. I would like people to reach out to the council and obviously be super polite. Send an email and just say that if you are a girl in skateboarding, say that you do feel included. Anything that goes to the contrary of what she's saying and you feel like she's misrepresenting you as a girl in the skateboarding space, make it known. Write a letter, write an email to the council. I will find the information and I will leave it at the end of this video and in the description if you want to do that. But for now, let's continue.
Sky Brown. The other thing that's been left out is the wider finance thing. In Frome, we have a skate park, a Muga, and a pump track. So far, all of these, on average, are used 90% by boys and young men. So the council has spent, I've added it up, 127,000.
So she's just complained that 90% of the people that use this skate park are boys and young men, but then said that 15% of skate park users are female. Which wouldn't that make sense? If 15% of skaters are female, wouldn't it make sense that 10 to 15% of skate park users would be female? Or am I missing something here?
Pounds on facilities which are 90% used by boys and young men. It's proposing to spend another £45,000 minimum on a facility which will, and you can say all you like, it's going to be lovely, but it's not, be used predominantly by boys and young men, and take out a £400,000 loan. And under the Equality Act, it's the decision to take out that loan. It doesn't matter what where the money comes from. So that's north of £500,000 on facilities mostly used by men and boys. And how much on those used by women and girls? A big fat zero.
Look, could we do more things to include women in different kinds of sports? Yes, but I feel like that money is better spent in sports and areas where women are more predominantly seen. If you want to create a space for women, maybe make like a netball course, or what they call it, like a netball pitch or court, or I don't know, I don't play netball, but you know what I mean. Like, make something that women predominantly play more of, so that they actually have something for themselves, instead of making something that men use and then complaining that men are using it. It's just a simple fact that if 85% of men are skateboarders, 85% of the skateboarders that use the park are going to be men. It's just the statistics are lining up.
They say they hate the bedroom culture, but there's nowhere else for them to go. And a skate park is not the place for them to go. And all of this finance is before we even think about Badgers Hill. And the research now shows that 90% of those who play in teams on pitches across England are men and boys. So that's more money being spent, 90% on men and boys. But that's not all. The skate park isn't just inequitable, it will actually make the park worse for teenage girls.
You hear this? Adding a skate park to the park will make the actual overall public greenery, the public park area, it will make it worse, apparently. Having people there skateboarding, looking after the place, obviously in her eyes they're not doing that, but it's just not the reality.
There's clear research from America that demonstrates that girls are... I'm being laughed at.
Yeah,
I've sat through everything else. That's really rude. But teenage girls are less likely to use a park. They're great news. Parks are good. They're more active where there's a park, unless that park has a skate park. in which case they are less active. The Green Flag Awards, good luck with that, because that recommends putting a skate park well away from any facilities used by teenage girls. The only...
You see, again, massively disagree. There are tons of groups of there are little girl groups that just plot around the skate park in the park where I live, just doing whatever the kids do, playing football, messing around with the little scooter kids and whatnot. There are tons of them. Her saying this, and like the place where I live, and it's not like I live in a nice place, like I'm not lying. Where I live is called Leiston, right? Small town, about 6,000 people, and it's actually quite, quote unquote, rough when it comes to drugs and stabbings and stuff like that. A few people have been killed here recently, and for a small town, that's not that common. And the girls are still dashing about and doing their thing in our park in Leiston. And like, there's never been a case where people have been harassed or people have harassed the children or anything like that. Like, there are adults at the skate park most of the time, and they're looking out for these younger kids. Obviously, there are going to be times, anomalies in the system where something slips through the cracks and something bad happens. But majority of the time, especially where I live, the older people are looking out for the younger people, and the younger people are just doing their thing.
Facility we have that teenage girls tell us they like in Frome is the Big Swing. If you put the skate park by it, they are going to be less likely to use it. And by saying we're bringing more people in outside, you're bringing more dodgy young men that they don't know and making them feel even less
Can you
safe.
just be careful about making accusations?
Well, but
So, and this is the part where all the credibility, or the smidge, the shred, the crumb of credibility that this lady once had completely diminishes, because she says that all skate park users, everybody that goes to the skate park, every man, whether you're 12, 35 or 48, you are a dodgy male. And you make the park a worse place by being there. They don't care what you're doing. Antisocial behavior. I don't care what you're doing. You're a man. You're making the park worse. Like, this woman, imagine if I went, like, for example, imagine if I started petitioning against the local basketball court, and that was used predominantly by women, and I go in there and I start saying, these dodgy young women aren't letting any of the boys get involved. People are going to be like, calling all women dodgy, are you? It's a bit sexist. And then all of a sudden the barrage begins. So this woman has gotten away with a lot that she really shouldn't have in this meeting.
Like,
dodgy in the sense, I mean dodgy in the sense that they don't know them. And so unknown young men.
On.
Tries to backtrack it there when she gets called out. The whoever was in charge of the meeting called her out and said, let's not make assumptions. And she was like, I just mean that they don't know them. Yeah, of course she did.
Move on.
So, also, let's deal with antisocial behaviour.
Susanna, can you wrap up in about a minute, please?
Yes. The poster child for this is Dorchester, where the skate park apparently produced a 40% reduction in antisocial behaviour. That's because they were skateboarding down the front steps of the police station. It didn't change people's lives, it just moved the skateboarding. One final thing.
What? She literally just said that, we have this data where in Dorchester they received a 40% less antisocial behaviour because the skate park was built. And then she goes on to say, that's just not because of it's not because of inclusivity. That's because they were once skating street and now they're not skating street. I guarantee you, they're still skating street. And I can also almost guarantee you that the deduction in antisocial behaviour was because of the skate park, because as I explained earlier in this video, it's exactly what happened at my local.
Great. As a Green Council, I do not understand how you can justify dumping a load of concrete into the main green space in Frome. If concrete were a country, it would be the third largest emitter of CO2 after China and America. An indoor skate park with plywood would be much more sustainable. So I don't think that the data in any way justifies the skate park. I'm very happy to help with references, with gathering data, even with working with teenage girls for free.
All right, well, I'll leave it there with her, but let's have a little recap. So, what we've seen today is an absolutely clueless council lady that claims to be an expert and that thinks that she knows it all. Yes, obviously, she's been doing her job for a while. I'm sure she knows a thing or two about the bubble that she lives in. But when it comes to talking about skate park culture and the people that use it, this woman has absolutely no idea what she's talking about and has chatted some absolute wass, to the point where I felt like I had to make a video and call it out, because this actually annoyed me. And normally I keep my beak out of all these council meetings unless it's in my own home area. This one had to be spoken about, so let me know your opinions, and if you are a lady, please feel free to reach out and let them know that you are feeling included at the park. Thanks guys, see you soon.